Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Please abiding by AFTERBIRTH. Plus, we lost a bad run in a bad way, and now I want to do Eden runs again. Ah, crap. HQJ7 BJ7L. What the heck is this, dude? Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Bad HP. Okay, well, I mean, like, that's not horrible, I guess, but there's a roundabout way to get to a tarot card. The best tarot card, but a tarot card nonetheless. It's okay, just break the problem down into smaller chunks. Yes, we have terrible DPS. A spacebar item that is at present useless, but could become useful at some point. We got a lot of issues. Really, we just need items. And I know that oversimplifies things, but you know, if you have issues, you need items. We could play around by, you know, play around the same way if you have like a pool table in a bad room, a room that's not large enough for a pool table to fit appropriately. You know, you're like, hey, oh, you got your ball at the other end of the table, you gotta take this cue that we sawed in half in order to be able to even take a shot there. We can do that, you know, we can recognize that we should be positioning ourselves in a more defensive way. We definitely shouldn't be overly aggressive on this run, at least to start with. And we pretty much, I mean, we need both HP plus a deal with the devil. So, you know, as much, really, like, the easy way out of this jam, the long road back to averageness requires us to get something like Magic Mushroom right here. And the odds of that happening are relatively low. But it's only cursed in Isaac when you get a bad run and a bad start. That's okay. We're high on this bad start. Like, this is horrible. But as long as the items end up being okay, we've got only a little bit to worry about right now. And I'm not disheartened, you know? You lose now and then. It's not that the only way, you know, sometimes people console themselves when they lose. And they say, oh, losing's the only way to get better. Here's a Galaxy Brain take. It's a video game. You know, who cares if you're on the road to getting better? You know, in real life, sure. Hope I'm not offending anybody by using the word real life there. But you know what I mean. Like, if Isaac's not my real life, there's not too many people for whom they could say it was their real life. Edmund, sure. I'll give you that one, but apart from that, unless you're, I don't know if you're watching right now. Probably not. Probably busy. But all I'm trying to say is, you know, rather than worried about whether or not you're getting better at a video game, I think the better thing to do is just accept, like, hey, losing's gonna happen. No matter how good you are, you know? Losing's the only way to get better, sure, but even as you get better, you'll still lose now and then. So the best thing to do is to maybe take a little bit of like a Gary Shandling Zen diary approach and just recognize, you know, it'll probably happen from time to time. Sometimes it's within your control. The last loss was within our control, but influenced by things outside of our control. Randoming the loss, for example. This run, nobody knows yet. It's too early to tell. Starting a little outside of our control, though. Thank God. Oh, and this is a genuine thank you for that Tears upgrade. Short a Tears upgrade, like if we get something horrible, we're in a much worse spot. And it's actually, like, you have to keep in mind, no consumable, even the trinket smelter is not really that good for us, because it doesn't give us a benefit until we have 2 trinkets. One trinket smelter does not give you a benefit. You can smelt it, it doesn't change anything. Oh, wait. I thought, no, Mom's box of trinkets gives you the extra efficacy. So yeah, it gives you no benefit. Now, once you start getting a bunch of trinkets, it can have like a really nice benefit. And you can replace it at some point as well. But for now, it's going to take us a long time to hit that level, you know? All we can do is focus on the here and now. Help. Man, it's a wild one. Naively, I was like, hey, because we lost, the game will probably give us an easy run. I'm a man of logic. I didn't say a man of science. But I do like to think of things logically most of the time. And in this case, I was, you know, I let that logic slip. And it's clear that that is obviously not the way it's going to work out for us. It's okay. We do have a spirit heart, thankfully. So our deal with the devil is basically guaranteed. I'm going to level with you. I think if we get damage on our deal with the devil, we have to take it. Obviously, we'd love to get like 9 lives or something like that. But if we get damage on our deal with the devil, I think we pretty much have to go for it. So that is Mom's box of trinkets. There's some interesting possibilities there. If we could only get, you know, quintuple the amount of money we already have. You know, before we leave this floor, which we're making, you know, a surprisingly good pace on, I might add, for some reason. Or somehow, I should say. Let's go find our item room, just to sort ourselves out. That's what a colossal mistake. But we can regroup. We can regroup. Losing your spirit heart by walking on the spikes is comical. Was it worth it? Oh my god, maybe? Maybe. Now I'm like, okay, here's my game plan, okay? The shop is probably right here. But I think I'd rather, like right on the left there. I think I'd rather blow up the donation machine if one exists. It's a trinket. And try to get enough money for a spirit heart. I'm begging you. Thank you. Okay, take the spirit heart. Deal with the devil. Odds are high, and the stakes have never been higher. It's an important episode. I don't think we need the widow. This is a large enemy that moves very predictably. You know, why summon a minion just to kill it? You gotta work on your human resources here. No choice but to take it. And, you know, maybe the demon heart is worth its weight in gold. Out of these 2 items, both of which are very strong here, we can only take one. We're definitely going to take Maw of the Void. And have we been saved? Yeah. More or less, we've been saved. We now have a method that we can pursue. In order to have, like, a chance of victory. Now, it's not to say it's easy. Because it's not easy. But, you know, we'll get there. Potentially. We have more of a means with which of getting there now. Okay. Hey, dude, to be honest, I actually appreciate I mean, we're still in a pretty tricky spot, just to be honest. But I really appreciate, in some ways, starting in a difficult position on an Isaac episode, you know? I think that, okay, I can't say no, right? I think that starting in a difficult position, it gives you something to talk about. It gets the conversational engines turning. And as the conversational engines turn, you know, you start to loosen up. This isn't my first video recorded today. I got a little bit of, I've had morale up, I've had morale down. I mean, I'm playing a lot of games right now that they could really take it out of you. I don't mean to be that guy who's talking about, you know, AAA video games. Oh, they just press A to win, haha. But, like, sometimes, you know, press A to win. Or press cross to win, if you've been following the controversial PlayStation tweet. It says that the X button is actually called cross. At least we got a demon heart back there. And a key, which was the whole reason we came here to begin with. But, you know, a AAA game, if it's more narrative-driven, they give you a little set piece. You work your way through the set piece, and then you're like, I'm ready to move on, I think. You know, I've killed all the enemies, and they're giving me new dialogue. Right now, I'm playing Isaac, I'm playing Dicey Dungeons, I'm playing a new character in Slay the Spire that you require 4 PhDs just to understand, you know, what the heck's happening at any given moment. And I'm playing Children of Morta. What's the easiest one of those? Isaac. Everything, well, only because we played so much of it, probably, but everything else is a little touchy, you know? As they're all a little touchy, but you get what I mean. You know, we're not playing any games where progress is guaranteed. So I'm humbled and unhumbled on a regular basis. There we go. This floor, all I'm asking for here, I mean, I would like a great many things, but like, more Demon Hearts is up there. Really, I just want another key. No key. All right, well, that's fine. We'll leave this floor, but not before I take my abilities into my own hands here. You know, see what we get. Oh, okay. It worked. Was it worth it? Yeah, I think it was worth it, honestly. I can't remember if we have a tinted rock anywhere. We probably won't be able to turn this into a key, but we turn it into a lot of consumables. I can live with that. And actually, I do see an ability to turn it into a key. Perhaps right here. Oh, that's not gonna work. Yeah, for the whole floor, I was like, I'm a genius. All I need is one bomb and we'll get to that chest. Not the case. Anyway, I think we've mostly recovered. The tears up, health up on this floor helped us out like an enormous degree. I'm feeling okay. I mean, I'm feeling good. Physically, I'm feeling good today. Don't do that. There's our key. Mentally, you know, I'm feeling good, but I am starting to, you know, here's the thing. Vancouver has a number of nicknames, most of which I wouldn't even, you know, use in private. They smack of some problematic ideas, in my opinion. Either way, one of them is Raincouver, and we're fitting the bill recently. There's been some downpours. This gives us a spirit heart, right? Yeah. One of which is Raincouver, and it's been very rainy the past couple of days. And rain is not that big of a deal, thank God for this item. It's not that big of a deal. You get over it, you use an umbrella. You know, it was invented, you know, probably, I'm guessing, in like the ancient civilizations carried a palm leaf over their head in order to protect from the ill effects of the rain, blah, blah, blah. It's been around for a while, is what I'm trying to suggest, but, you know, still, what a terrible dodge. Really an impressive dodge, if you factor in that it was so unlikely for us to be able to do that, but that's not really what I'm all about in this world right now. But what I was gonna say is, you know, because of the weather, I think the days of the Pokemon Go walks being, you know, almost every night, 5 to 10 kilometers is probably behind us. And that's unfortunate. Because, you know, that's fine, we'll leave. I was getting into a good groove, you know? I was having a good time. I was doing my dailies. Now I'm a little bit more, I'm inside. I need to come up with another inside hobby. You know, working out is one thing, but you can't work out. You know, I've been watching all these documentaries about, like, the world's strongest man. Like, every single one of the competitors says the same thing. They're like, you know, I'm in the gym, like, 2 or 3 hours a day, but there's 24 hours in a day. You know, you gotta come up with other stuff. Now, I'm not in the gym 2 or 3 hours every day, obviously, to begin with, but it still holds true, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta find some other hobby. You know, your rest is roughly as important as what you're doing in the gym in the first place, so I gotta... It's a soul-searching time, I guess, but not like in a major, like, personal life change sort of way. But I've recognized, especially like over the past year, had a lot of like holistic personal development. I feel like, you know, I never understood what people meant when they said, you know, I want to find myself. I feel like I've always known myself pretty well, but I feel like this year I found out even more, like, what do I need to maintain a environment where stress is, you know, as minimized and as healthily handled as possible. You know, I need routine. I need to have, like, you know, I need to meal prep so I got food readily available when I'm hungry, or rather when it's lunchtime, because sometimes hunger doesn't apply. But I need to go to bed and wake up roughly within the same corridor. I need to, you know, Every day I like to do something, you know, domestically responsible, you know, like the chore to keep the house clean. I like to do, you know, at least a few videos, and then oftentimes, you know, a little bit of streaming, and then, you know, those sliders get cranked up and down depending on the day. And, you know, that's how I maintain my own homeostatic bubble, you know, of comfort. And Pokemon Go, not so much Pokemon Go, but like Pokemon Go plus walking had become a part of that. I need to find something to fill that. Hold on, we didn't leave a trinket behind. Now, I'm not really taking suggestions. Don't take it the wrong way. But, you know, I got to figure out what works for me. For now, and this is not necessarily a bad habit. For now, it's spending that Pokemon Go time playing Slay the Spire on my couch while watching, you know, HBO. Now, here's the thing. HBO is TV. You know, does it rot your brain? I don't think so, but it depends what you watch. Oh, yes. We will take. I think we've gotten a lot of smelted trinkets. I'm a very happy man. Let's go to the shop on this floor, though. But at least the HBO shows, you know, you got good stuff on there. You got Righteous Gemstones has been an interesting watch so far. Chernobyl, you got Deadwood, old Curb Your Enthusiasm episodes, lots of good stuff, you know? Why are we not using this? Thank you. But still, over time, you're like, I don't know. It's a weird thing to talk about, I suppose. People sometimes think I'm overly productive. And I think compared to a lot of YouTubers, I do spend more hours, you know, working on videos. There are huge exceptions. You know, there's gaming channels out there that publish, you know, like 3 to 5 highly edited, like work-intensive videos a week. They're outclassing me in a huge way. However, compared to streamers, you know, streamers work a lot. The average full-time streamer, I don't know if I'd say they work more than me. In terms of, and this is, I'm not trying to brag about, you know, the amount of labor invested. Really, it's all about, you know, trying to find a balance that works for you and your, you know, your ambitions, while simultaneously also allowing you to have a life outside of sitting at your computer and then dying at an early age. But we work close to the same amount, I think. You know, a lot of streamers, I joked about it with Dan and Mathis, but, you know, it was like, the typical streamer streams like, you know, 6 days of 10-hour streams. And then on the 7th day, they're like, I'm canceling today's stream because I feel like garbage. And hey, if it works for you, it works for you. I'm the opposite. I'm not like an engine that you push down the gas pedal and rev it till it explodes, but you get some spectacular stuff in the interim period. I'm like an old lawnmower, you know, from like the 1970s. You know, the lawnmower still works just as good as it did on the first day. If anything, you might even swear that it's starting to become a little bit more efficient, as ridiculous as that sounds. But it's all reliable. Can you ride on it? Absolutely not. How does it handle on hills? You know, they didn't have that kind of technology back then. Will it turn on and mow your lawn? Oh, every day. Absolutely. In fact, 4 to 5 times a day sometimes. Get that item out of here. I see myself more like that. I see myself like a metronome, you know? Just swinging from one side of the device to the other, rhythmically. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, Master Wayne. What is that from? Because it's not James Bond, and it's not Master Wayne. You know, I think that's a Die Hard. I don't know if that's Hans Gruber, but like every villain in Die Hard is apparently Hans Gruber. All the villains are doing the same thing. Oh, I was just gonna say, irradiate all the gold in Fort Knox so that the gold that I have will be worth disproportionately more. And I was like, wait a minute. Idiot, that's James Bond. That's the plot of Goldfinger, the best James Bond. Well, here's the thing, okay? I think about this from time to time. I grew up, and even into my early adulthood, and even occasionally now, I like reading ranked lists of things just to see how people feel about it. I think when I was a teenager, you know, I'd read like a ranked list of James Bond movies, and I was like, the critical consensus is that Dr. No and Goldfinger are the best James Bonds. And I think, oh dude, this will reroll the item pedestals. It's fantastic news. I think that's definitely valid if, and I think it's valid now, to be fair, but I think it's more valid if you were, you know, alive when those movies came out. You know, if you're of the time that the movies are of the time, I think that makes sense. For the modern day, you know, if you're my age, around my age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, it's not to say those movies are worse, but I think I might go Casino Royale, you know? For a modern time, I think Casino Royale is just, it's the most elegant of all the Bond films. The Sean Connery ones, you know, they're good capers. Well, most of them are good capers. I'm not even, look, there's a lot of stuff in the, you know, early James Bond films that, like, you know, from a modern, like, gender role standpoint, if they put it in a movie today, people would be very upset. But it was filmed back then. That's not to say you can't criticize it, but you can't change it. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on evaluating things like that are of their time. You know, it's a touchy subject. Because, like, I've heard, like, I've watched all these Ken Burns documentaries about the Civil War, and, you know, well, and by all, I mean the one that he made that's on Netflix, but, you know, sometimes they say some things about Abraham Lincoln, and you're like, if you filter it through a modern lens, you're like, dude, Abraham Lincoln was racist. On the other hand, he also, you know, signed the Emancipation Proclamation, abolishing slavery in America and freeing the slaves. He was racist by modern day standards, but so forward thinking at the time of the American Civil War that he abolished slavery. I mean, he didn't come up with the idea of abolishing slavery, to be fair. You know, there were people that were like, hey, what if we just didn't do this, you know, prior to that point. But it's just interesting to think about. Look, I'm not trying to open an Isaac episode, well, not open, I guess. I'm not trying to have an Isaac episode that's like, hey, what do you think about Abraham Lincoln's views on race? You know, you're getting yourself into a touchy subject, but, you know, it is the thing I think about from time to time when I watch old media, or, you know, you think about, you're introduced to, you know, so-called great men of history, and then you learn about their attitudes, and you're like, oh, I mean, that's like a very troubling attitude by, you know, contemporary standards, but at the time he was considered, you know, downright progressive somehow. You know, maybe we're in that boat right now and we just don't know it. You know, we think we're, you know, super woke and tolerant, but then, you know, one of my great-great-grandkids watches this video in 2200 after consuming the last of Earth's potable fresh water, and they're like, man, great-granddad had some really troubling ideas about something. I don't know what. You know, I didn't really want to invite that evil onto myself by saying I got some troubling ideas about something, because I think, you know, I think I got things pretty much, you know, on the level. I'm tolerant of people, I'm nice to them, and, you know, probably the group that I take the most pot shots at are people that watch anime, and I too watch some anime. So, you know, it's you know, maybe one day that'll be the thing, and, you know, when people watch these videos, they'll be like, he's extremely intolerant of anime fans, and I gotta be like, no, it wasn't like that. It's just, didn't you hear me? One of my favorite movies is Kimi no Na wa. You know, like, I don't know. I guess it's impossible. I'm sure you've had the conversation before, you know? When we were like, you know, 14, 15, 16 in high school, what was the big issue? It was gay marriage. It became federally legal in 2004 for gay marriage to happen. And we were like, well, thank God we sorted that one out. And now you're looking back and you're like, I don't know. There's still some people that aren't happy about that one, apparently. But it's one of those issues I refuse to consider controversial. I consider it like a human rights issue. You know, some things I'll apologize for getting involved, and I'll be like, I don't want to get controversial. It's like climate change and gay marriage. I'm not mincing any punches on that one, in my opinion at least. And if that bothers you, hey, I hope you keep watching. You know, we can still get along, because I'm the world's nicest guy and I have no backbone. You know, but we would talk, you know, in high school, and we'd be like, man, I wonder what we're going to be seen as super intolerant of when we're in our, you know, 80s. I don't know. Probably a little controversial to even come up with something, to be honest. Maybe the elderly, I don't know, is kind of like a non-controversial, easy answer. Making fun of old people, people don't, I do it all the time. People don't even think about it. They're starting to think about it more, and I'm starting to think about it more. But, you know, especially, like, the older I get, and not because I'm worried about it, you know, reflecting poorly. Oh, people are going to make fun of me when I'm 80. But I'm more like, you know, especially, you know, my parents and grandparents get a little older. You know, I'm not as thoughtless about just, you know, being like, I was out in public today, and an old person inconvenienced me by taking a long time to adjust to my world, which I've grown up in, but is vastly different than the world with which they entered the universe alongside. You know? I think that's one I think maybe will become a little bit more sensitive, because, you know, here's the thing. It's kind of easy to justify making fun of old people, and I say that not to be rude. I'm just saying it's easy to come up with an excuse, like, especially now, you know, there's almost like an economic filter you can run it through, like, hey, shut up, boomer, you grew up in, like, the most prosperous times in North American history, if you happen to be from North America. You know, I'm old. Hey, get off the road, Grandpa. You know, etc., etc. But, you know, there's a lot of bad things about being old, dude. I mean, first off, you're getting older, your body's falling apart to some extent. You know, you might be suffering some cognitive ill effects, but secondarily, you know, loneliness, dealing with, you know, the loss. I'm not even making a Control-Alt-Delete comics meme. I'm you know. Certainly, I think that it's becoming more seen as punching down. And I'm trying to be cognizant of that myself. The only reason, and this completely flies in the face of what I just said, and I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The thing that annoys me the most and causes me to make jokes at the elderly's expense is that for some reason, they're always trying to give me advice in public. That's the one thing. And I'm like, if we could just work together, I'll stop making the jokes. That's fine. I should stop making the jokes. But you gotta also stop being, like, I told a story of how, like, you know, we were done with eating our food at some place, and then this older woman, you know, near us was like, aren't you gonna pack that up and take that home? And we're like, nah, I don't think we're gonna eat it. It doesn't, like, keep well. And then she was like, well, these kids these days don't even know what it's like to, you know, and I'm like, it's Whole Foods in downtown Vancouver, lady. There's a decent chance you live in a house that's worth more than the average Canadian makes over the course of their entire careers. It's just a bizarre way to pick a fight with a stranger is what I'm saying. That's the only thing, is when they start, if they try to tell me how to live my life, okay? And then apart from that, I'm a friend of the elderly. I've been to many classical music concerts in which I've seen them and smiled politely, held the door, etc., etc. Try not to kick up a fuss. Don't look at my cell phone because I know they hate that. The kids these days. Always reading books. Don't have to memorize things anymore. Losing all of our verbal traditions. Anyway, maybe that's the one. I could see it. I don't know. Dude, I'm just happy. Like, I'm not happy. I'm overjoyed. This run started looking like a huge stall and has ended, in all likelihood, barring an unbelievable disaster, has, like, ended unbelievably strongly. I'm a very, very happy man. Would not have been surprising at all for us to, you know, a couple of things go slightly differently. This run becomes a lot more dangerous. However, it didn't. The only thing dangerous was my short-sighted commentary. I don't know. I think, you know, here's my take on it, right? It's a very hot-button issue right now. I think if you're coming from a place of understanding... Here's the thing. We run a show where we like to make jokes. Not occasionally like to make jokes. We always like to make jokes. It's just sometimes they're not jokes because nobody laughs. And I think, you know, sometimes the jokes can veer into the modestly controversial, but not very controversial. And occasionally people get offended by the jokes that we've told on the show. I have, like, basically a standing policy that is to never defend myself in those situations. If I believe that I'm coming from a place of, like, wanting to be positive, not punching down, and, you know, not making anybody's life harder necessarily, I gotta own up to the fact sometimes I'm gonna unintentionally cross the line for some people, and, you know, I welcome hearing their position. And most of the time they don't go, you know, hey, you said something controversial, I hate you. They write me a very well thought out comment that's like, you know, here's my position, here's why I think what you said was not cool. And, you know, I read them all, honestly, and I take them to heart, because I think that, you know, if you're going to be in a position with some public influence, it's important. It is important to treat people with respect, especially if you're in, like, games, you know, where, why wouldn't you treat people with respect? We don't even have, like, major disagreements coming to the forefront at all times. Anyway. It's a pressing issue this week, especially, you know, given some of the news in the game industry. But I'm just saying, you know, inevitably, I think if your core is good, you know, you have to accept that, you know, there's two ways you can react. Because if you talk a lot and you occasionally border on the controversial, you're gonna ruffle some people's feathers. There's two ways you can go, and I'm always frustrated to see people go like, well, if I can't guarantee I won't offend anyone, I'm going to offend everyone. And I'm like, I see that as kind of like the lazy way out. The other way is, you know, accept that you're going to offend people and keep trying to entertain people, but, you know, also, you know, try to see it from their perspective and do better as much as possible. But anyway, that's my opinion on the subject. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya!